This is Kathy from Gadget Stop 321, and in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at Noodler's Rome Burning. I'm going to test it in a variety of pins and nib sizes ranging from a Pilot Extra Fine to a 1.5 stub nib. Now I'm going to begin with my Pilot Extra Fine. This is a Pilot 78G with a stainless steel nib. And I found on the other papers that this ink performed pretty well in the extra fine nib. So let's see how it does on this Tomoy River paper. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be feedback with it being this fine of a nib, but there's no scratchiness. The nib's not catching on the paper. This is nice. All right. Next, I've got another extra fine, but this is a Faber-Castell Ambition. So this is kind of taking the place of my fine nib, filling in for the fine nib. This is nice also. All right. Let's see. When I get to the other paper samples, I've got something I'm noticing here. Okay. Next, I've got my Sailor LeCool with a medium fine nib. This nib does well with some inks and not so well with others. It's never been scratchy, I shouldn't say never, but it's not usually scratchy. Yeah, this is nice. This ink kind of reminds me of the color of a wheat field, a ripe wheat field. I grew up on a farm. My dad was a farmer. And so this is just a really pleasant color. All right. Next, I've got my Kaweco Perkeo all black with a medium nib. Now, it's really showing up with this medium nib. When the ink goes down, it looks brown, but I don't know if you can see it. I can see it as it dries going across here. It really lightens up. And this was nice. Pretty smooth. Being in that medium nib, I guess I could have put smooth there. And now I've got my Platinum Metropolitan with a cursive medium nib. Did I say Platinum or Pilot? Pilot Metropolitan. All right. Nice and smooth. Okay. And finally, my Jinhao X750 with a 1.5 stub. Yeah, it's going down on the page kind of a golden brown, and then it dries to like a golden color almost, a really light golden tan. Okay, give that a little bit of time to dry and take a look at some of the other papers. This I would call my medium quality paper. This is Rhodia, and I'll hold it right here and you can see this is a very flat ink, very uniform in color, all nib sizes. It's just that kind of golden wheat brown, and it performed nicely in all my pens. It was very pleasant. It looks nice. The readback is nice. I wouldn't have guessed that in a golden brown, but very pleasant color. And let's see. I don't normally check this, but I wanted to check it because this is a very low viscosity ink, or at least it seems to be. It's not a very thick ink, and it did kind of bleed through a little bit in places on Rhodia, which is kind of unusual. Now on the 20-pound copy paper, I wasn't very fond of this ink. It's bleedy, it bled through. I wouldn't call it didn't really feather, but it does spread quite a bit. You can see like when at certain spots, like on these horizontal lines where there's blobs of ink, like here, where it skips, it's like there's blobs of ink and then it'll skip a little bit on the sailor. It had a little trouble grabbing the paper, and it just feels like ink is not coming out at a constant rate. It's coming out too fast and then too slow. So it wasn't scratchy on the extra fine nib, but you can see where it comes out in blobs. And then the rest of the nibs, they weren't bad, they just weren't pleasant to write with. So I really liked it on the Rhodia paper, but I wasn't fond of it at all on the just poor quality copy paper. In my Leuchtturm notebook, this is just a flat ink. There's no shading, no sheen. It kind of reminds me in its performance to Noodler's Lexington Gray. Now, I mentioned this when I was talking about Lexington Gray. Iroshizuku Kirasami is just very flat and velvety looking. Lexington Gray almost looked grainy, and so does Rome Burning. It looks kind of grainy on the page. So normally most fountain pen inks look really nice in this Leuchtturm journal. Lexington Gray and Noodler's Rome Burning have been two that, kind of stood out as, wow, that's not my favorite paper for those two inks. They just don't look that special. And finally, on what I would consider my good quality fountain pen paper, Tomoy River, again, no sheen. I'm seeing a little bit of shading on this paper, very, very subtle, especially here on the stub nib. That looks pretty nice. But it just performed well in all the pens. On Tomoy River and Rhodia, I really liked this ink, and I'm really looking forward to doing the water test in this. This ink has an interesting property that it goes down this golden brown, and then when you do the water test, everything washes away except for, I believe, a purpley color. So excited about doing the water test on this one. Be looking for that. So if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.